Okay, welcome to Already Always Listening. Today we are getting really deep and talking about who we are really. So, a lot of times when you meet someone new and they say, "What do you do?" or "Are you a mom?" and you identify with maybe your education level or what kind of pets you have, but is that really who you are?
No, I hate this question. This is one of those things that really kind of chaps my ass, if I'm being honest. And I stopped asking this question several years ago, actually. And interestingly enough, if you actually take this back to middle school, I don't know, was Mean Girls in middle school? Wait, what age group were they in? I don't even know.
High school.
In that movie, high school. Well, you could take it back that far. So we'll start with high school then. Everybody's seen Mean Girls. That's the only reason I brought that one up. But in high school, you're identifying, oh, you're a jock, or you're a nerd, or you're a band geek, or you're an athlete, or you're the popular girl, whatever it is. Then in college, you're defined by, oh, well, what are you studying? Then after college, it's, oh, what do you do? And basically,
Yes.
for the rest of your life, you're just defined by what you do. But nobody really asks you who you are.
I know. And it's so interesting that you brought it back to high school because I was the kind of girl that didn't really fit into one group. So I was in all the AP classes or the honors classes. So, that was kind of this dorky side of me, but I was really freaking good at school. Okay, sue me. But then I was on the dance team, ended up being the captain of the dance team. So I had that whole fun, flirty vibe wearing the little skirts. And then I also smoked a lot of pot. Tell me about the weirdest group. So I felt like I was the friends with everyone, but fit in with no one.
I actually totally resonate with that. But I was a jock. I didn't take AP classes because my brain said, we're not taking college classes in high school. I don't want to waste that time here. I want to do college when I'm in college. But I wasn't thinking about, ooh, this is cool because then I could graduate early and I can study extra stuff or I could have taken other classes. So if you're young and you're listening to this, take the AP classes of whatever you're interested in, right? Instead of what you think you might want to do for a living. Don't think so far ahead. Sometimes it's just what are you interested in? But yeah, I was a jock myself and I was really smart. But we had a lot of rednecks in my school. So I was sort of a redneck. Sometimes I would wear Wranglers and go like hog hunting on the weekends and hang out in the woods because that's where all of our parties were. And it's just so weird to think back on those days and we just only had so many options, but you just were one of those people.
Oh my gosh. Or my love of gangster rap. Don't even.
I will never let that go.
Ugh, I know, it is so good. But you also brought up something, and sometimes we pick our identity based on what we are scared other people might think of us or judge us for. So, for instance, in middle school, I was really good at playing the flute and I was second chair. And on the weekend, we were supposed to take our instrument home and practice. And I never practiced. My flute literally sat in that cubby. So the teacher knew I didn't practice, but I was second flute. And the first flute got private lessons. And he kept saying to me, if you actually applied yourself, you could definitely be first flute. You'd be really good. And then when I went to high school, I was like, well, I can't be in band because then I'd have to be in the marching band and that would make me a dork and people will judge me. And I don't know. I mean, nowadays I could have been some amazing flutist. Who knows?
Isn't that wild? I wanted to be in band, but I wasn't because I was like, no, you're a track athlete. I played soccer varsity all 4 years in high school. I was an athlete and I couldn't be a band geek and an athlete. They just don't go together and you had to pick one. So I never played or any instruments. And I have to be honest, as an adult, I'm kind of sad about that. And actually this weekend I was at a friend's place and he just picked up keyboard and actually my girlfriend's place and her husband just picked up keyboard. And he's like, I'm loving it. And so we went into his little office and he has keyboard set up and he just sat down and he started playing. And my nerdy, emotional adult self just starts like weeping. I was like, did you just learn that? He's like, oh, I just made it up. And I was like, it's so beautiful.
Oh,
And I was like, I've been called like for the last 10 years, I've been wanting to get a keyboard and play. And I think there was like this inner like being in me, this deep part that was like, you always wanted to play an instrument. Why don't you just do it? And then he was playing like what I kind of was interested in taking up and just haven't done it. And it was like my soul just recognized the beauty in that and was like, you can still do it. It's not too late.
Ugh, that is so beautiful. So do you have one in your Amazon card or what?
No, I don't, because it literally just happened yesterday. But I'm definitely considering it, and I am going to reach out to them later and get whatever he has because it looked like really light, easy. It didn't take up a lot of space, and yeah, it's gonna happen. But
Ugh,
he's taking some lessons, but also he's just playing really intuitively. And he's like, just touch these keys from here to here type of thing. And he showed me, and he just played some keys over here. And even when I did it just intuitively, I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool.
ugh, I love this for you.
I know. Who knew?
Okay, so you're gonna be a musician. You'll add that to your list. And
Yeah.
even just talking about how we were in high school and the things we decided to be or not be, it kind of makes a lot of sense for where we are now because both of us have a lot of, I don't want to say conflicting, but random roles we put on ourselves. One of mine is mom. I think there was a little guy that just ran behind my chair.
Was it a
Uh,
fairy? It was really like quick and fast.
oh, it was like lightning. Oh.
Oh,
Okay, so let's do a fun exercise, shall we?
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I want to take turns and we'll just each name one thing that we do or who we are or a role we've given ourselves or that has been put on us. You can start.
Wife,
Oh, mother,
daughter.
sister,
Oh, I'm a sister too, but I'll say a different one. Realtor,
sommelier,
athlete,
interior designer.
bodybuilder,
Ooh, that's a good one. Akashic Records reader.
health and wellness coach,
Hmm, quantum life coach.
intuitive.
Ooh, yes. Channel.
Oh my gosh, I can't. I'm charismatic.
Ooh, yes, you are. I was gonna say introverted extrovert.
I agree with that. I definitely am that.
Okay, so we have all of these things, and a lot of them are related to other people. Like we are something to someone else.
Hmm.
And then a lot of these are career paths. And if anyone is sitting in the audience thinking, okay, how are you a certified sommelier and an Akashic Records reader and a quantum life coach? Or how are you a realtor and a bodybuilder and a wellness coach? What should we tell them about this?
I mean, I think that you should love every part of yourself, right? And I don't know about you, but for a long time, I had these boxes that I put myself in, and they were really small. I knew I wanted to be some sort of a life coach when I was in my 20s, like early 20s, but it wasn't a thing yet. And I was around people that didn't believe that I could make a living with that. And as strong as I wasn't strong enough at that time to figure it out. And I had this other idea that I needed to go to college, finish what I was studying, which was exercise phys, which I used in the back of my mind. I thought, okay, well, this is what I'm really interested in, but this will also get me to PA school if I want to go to PA school and be a physician's assistant. But and I ended up in medical sales because that's what my dad did, right? How many times do we end up doing something that we are already familiar with because either one of our friends' parents did something and we saw that they had success in it, or it was our parent, or whatever the case? And I grew up in the medical industry, working in medical offices in high school, those types of things. So when I graduated college and I got a job in medical sales, I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to be that high-powered CEO lady that wears the sexy suits and, always is looking sharp and crisp and whatever. And I quickly realized when I got into medical sales, it's actually not really like that in what I was specifically doing. And while I had great success in it, it eventually fizzled out because it wasn't what my soul really was calling me to do. And I wasn't willing to give up parts of myself. Specifically, I wasn't willing to sleep with my boss at one point that I ended
Ugh.
up getting fired. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, deuces. I did one other job after that. And then I moved to Florida, back to Florida, because that's where I live now. And actually started selling real estate because then there's nobody above me. There's nobody telling me how to do my job, when to do my job. There's no ceiling in how much I can make or how many people I can help, which I loved it because for real estate now I'm helping people, right? Whether it's a pain or a pleasure for the reason that they're moving, I get to uncover that later, but I have a little extra space to bring in the health and wellness life coaching aspect that I've been wanting. I'm still figuring that out. I don't know it exactly perfect because every human is so different and unique.
Oh
So,
my gosh, though, I feel like you're being so humble. I'm just figuring it out. Okay, no, let's toot our own horn where it needs to be tooted
toot,
because
toot.
you have helped so many people and you have so many programs and you have such an understanding. So, as women, we don't celebrate ourselves. So, I want you to just do a shameless plug about this new wellness, life, fitness coaching.
These are okay. So we have a lot of strengths, right? But plugging myself is probably not one of them. But honestly, I love helping people understand food better so that it takes the pressure off of trying to figure out what they're supposed to eat every day that's going to give them the look, feel, and love for themselves that they have always looked maybe at someone else and wanted. It's not that difficult. And just working with them for a 90-day group coaching program can make such a big difference in somebody's life if they're willing and ready to take the steps to make the change, right? Because at the end of the day, nothing changes if nothing changes. And you just like watching your person that looks like you and lives like you and is doing, what you wish you would do. The only reason she's one step ahead of you is because she actually is taking action.
Yes. And the way you speak to it, I will say, I haven't done one of your programs yet, but it's coming soon. But even just from that one thing you said to me one time, you told me, one, I'm probably under eating, which is this whole like starving girl culture, and that I'm not eating enough carbs, which doesn't make sense in my brain at all. Since then, I have noticed such freedom. And while I'm not checking the scale every day or I'm not working toward any specific goal right now, even just how I look at food or the food choices I'm making, I feel this sense of peace around I'm hungry, that looks good, I want to eat that versus it's a carb, I shouldn't. Or oh, I already how many calculating how many calories I already ate for breakfast and if that's appropriate, I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'm not eating enough. Maybe I need more carbs and I just feel so much better.
Ooh, you're like liberated.
Yes.
No, the mindset and the thought process around food and is very fascinating to me because I think a lot of women, that's what they struggle with the most, but it's not what they think they need to work on the most. So I don't really advertise that because that's not sexy. It doesn't sell. Mindset doesn't sell, right? But part of the program is actually just kind of shifting things over a period of time to where by the end of the program, you're not afraid of food anymore. You feel empowered, like you just said, to make better choices that will lead you to your goals over time. Because it's just the little things that we do every day that bring the big change over time. We don't just come in and do a 75 hard and then live our life 75 hard for the rest of our life. And this
Yeah.
isn't a 75 hard type of program because that's not sustainable.
Yes.
Just
Ugh,
like with your programs.
I want to talk about this so much more. I think we need to dedicate a whole episode just to
I
this
agree.
because it is so juicy. Um, but I want to backtrack to when you were telling, I love hearing your whole story about I started here because my parents did it and that was comfortable and that was in your realm. And that's how we pick a lot of things. And what is this idea that we need to know what we want to be when we're 18 years old? I don't buy that. I just can't.
Well, not only that, but how are you supposed to choose when you're 18 years old what you want to do for the rest of your life? Because for a long time, you got a job and that's what you do basically till you die. Right?
Right.
Like, and if you change your mind or you decide you want to do something different, at least in my experience, people are looking at you like, what? Why would you do something different? You're having success there. Why would you switch it up? Why would you throw that away? And it's like, well, who said I was throwing the baby out with the bathwater? All I'm trying to do is add in another layer. Why do we
Yes.
just have to choose one thing?
Well, in my case, my first major was pre-pharmacy. Okay, and your girl like doesn't even go to the freaking doctor. I would be like going to the wise woman in the village. Don't get me wrong. I'm so
I
grateful for modern medicine.
I actually
But
think that could have been a cool thing that you could have transitioned into, like basically a medicine woman, doing
oh,
exactly what you're doing now, but with it from a different angle. It all works out.
ah, that is such a good point because the reason I did it is because my parents didn't go to college. And so it was like, ooh, what career are you going to make the most money on? It like stemmed back to all these money issues, right?
Oh
And so
yeah.
I was good at math. I enjoyed chemistry. You should do that. And I'm like, okay. But then when I got into there and I was like, holy crap, like I was in the AP classes, but college calculus, when you skip class half the time because you're 18 and you want to party is really hard. And so what did I do? I just gave up. I literally quit school. I withdrew from two classes. I failed one. And I was like, nope, can't do that. And then it was this whole thing, then follow your dream. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I guess I like designing. So I went to school for interior design. But then when that got too hard, I just kept working in the restaurant that I was working in. And I was making really good money, which is another key thing
Yep.
when you're in your early 20s because all of a sudden you have this freedom and you probably like drinking and you feel powerful. Probably like you in medical device sales, you were probably at that time felt like
Oh,
making it.
I thought my shit didn't stink and I was like untouchable. I legit thought I made it.
Yes. So same, the restaurant industry gave me friends. It was a fun culture, and I was really, really good at it. And so I just kept going on that route. And eventually I got to a point in my mid 20s. I was like, okay, I can't just be a server. So became a supervisor, a manager, and then I'm like, ooh, I like wine. Can I become a sommelier? So I got my level one, and then I got my level two, and then I became the GM of a restaurant. And it all just happened because I don't know. It was easy, but I still had this drive to be something more or give something more or do something. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
No, I think you're onto it. You're still serving people, right? You were serving them because they love wine and you were interested in wine, probably because you enjoyed wine yourself. So when you started going down that rabbit hole of getting your sommelier and then took it to the next level, and then you see how you sharing about the wine is affecting their meal and bringing together people in these groups, and how the camaraderie and the enjoyment of the wine and the food and the pairing and learning about it all, it was just a different way for you to serve people
Ugh,
at the
and
next
it
level, right?
Yes, and I would teach wine classes. So I'd literally teach people how to use all their senses and decipher the wines like we do as a sommelier, right? We blind taste. We walk into a room and just have wines in front of us, and we have to decide, okay, it's from this year range, it's aged in oak or not, it's this varietal from this country or a more specific region. And yeah, there was a time when I shifted after COVID when I was like, okay, I just had my first baby. I wasn't drinking wine, and I was like, I need to throw this out. Like, I'm not going to be a sommelier. I don't want to work in the restaurant industry. I can't be up till 2 in the morning. I'm like shunning this whole amazing part of my life.
Yeah, that you really enjoyed.
Right. Yes. And so I went on this whole healing journey, this spiritual awakening. 5 years later, I am reading Akashic records and I'm teaching people how to connect to their intuition and I'm leading them in this deep, deep soul level healing and rewriting soul contracts and reparenting their inner child and integrating their shadow. And there was a time when I first started to focus 100% on this. I can't be old Heather, sommelier Heather. And I created a new Instagram and I like pretended that wasn't part of my identity.
Did it feel weird though when you just decided, okay, I don't want to be that person anymore?
Yes, I felt like it was something I was ashamed of, or
Like hiding.
right. It
Yeah.
was something I was hiding, and it felt so different.
I kind of get that because even I felt like that for a hot minute, for about a year. with real estate. I was like, well, I'm going all in on my coaching, business because I love it and whatever. But what I realized as I stepped back is that it's just, again, a different way to serve people. And I was actually changing lives in a different way in real estate because I don't sell real estate like everyone else, right? If you're in my presence, you're getting more than just a real estate transaction. You're going to feel different. You're going to think different, even just by the way that I speak about the transaction. Perfect example, just recently, I have a transaction, a listing that I have and it's pending. That means there's a buyer that's going to be closing in a couple of weeks. And the seller texted me. We have a group thread with her entire family because the woman's in her 80s. And I always, if I'm working with someone over 80, I always ask to include the family so that they don't feel like I'm trying to rip off their mom, that they know what's going on because she's probably not transferring the information properly, right? So they're just going to get it from my mouth. But all that to say, she wrote a text in the group and said, my daughter and her husband had a bad experience in real estate. Should I be concerned about this transaction and this woman, whether or not she's going to close? And my response could have been anything, right? But at the end of the day, I just said, hey, listen, I'm really sorry that they had this experience, but let's not focus on their experience. Let's stay focused on our current experience. And because what we focus on expands. So we have no reason to believe that this buyer is going to walk away. She's done major due diligence prior to even making the offer so that she knew that she could afford it. I spoke with the lender multiple times. She's qualified, right? So I went through this whole thing and just really said, hey, we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on how we want this to close. And nobody even responded because they were probably like, what is this girl? I mean, she's got a point, but who says that?
Ugh. Yeah, but that's what needs to be said. And it goes back to our whole point of this whole freaking podcast is she could look through it from these foggy glasses that are like, oop, I need to be worried because someone I know had a bad experience. And then that's way more likely to be what she attracts. And you just cleared off those glasses for her and we're like, nope, here's all the evidence of why it's going to be easy. And then that's probably going to be her experience.
And it's been easy, right? I mean, I don't want to say easy because knock on wood, we haven't closed yet. But even today, I got an email from the agent after our reinspection this morning because there were some items that we had to fix. And she said, or he said rather, we need X, Y, and Z things because the lender needs to confirm that that the patio that was built on after is approved by the county and everything. And before I could even respond, they responded back and said, "Oh, just kidding. I already have everything because you sent it to me in the beginning.
Oh, nice.
Sent it to the lender and we're good to go." But it
Oh.
could have been this whole thing that blew up and whatever I sent wasn't enough and now we have to have a reinspection. But we get to choose what we focus on but people don't even realize that they have that choice because they're
Well,
stuck in that loop.
completely. And this is the mantra. This was last year's mantra for me is it gets to be easy. My word of the year was ease. And ugh, last year was freaking my year. It was glorious. I went all around the world. I did all this self-development. It was so, so, so special. And it was easy and it all just came. But I was running that mantra every day. I tell myself it gets to be easy. It gets to be easy.
Yeah. And you can do that with money. You can do that with anything. Actually,
Yep.
there's that book I was telling you about. It's called Love Money, Money Loves You, and it's free to listen to right now on Spotify. And I didn't realize how many money issues, thoughts about money that I had until I listened to that book. And it completely shifted my mindset. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's why I've had these super successes and then these downs, right? And this super success and these downs. And I've always been still, even my down was way more successful than the majority of people, right? But as high achievers, type A, we got this and I want this specific kind of life, you don't allow yourself to get too far from it, but you realize over time that the things you focus on really do expand and you can see it in your life, it unfolds. And when you start becoming aware and observing your thought patterns, then you can start to change them. And then when you change them, literally your reality changes.
It's so powerful.
It's so simple. It's not easy, but it's
Well,
really very simple.
it is simple, but there's a ton of background work because
So much.
The things that are stuck in your subconscious mind are really, really deep. And so the idea is simple, but the process is that you have to keep uncovering. It was like you read that book, and then even at 41 years of age, you uncovered new things that you believed about money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like this healing or this unpacking is our life's work. And not that it has to be hard, but it does take this awareness and listening to things that and expanding your mind in different ways and questioning yourself or your reactions or your emotions and everything that's showing up for you.
In your quantum healing, isn't that kind of along the lines of what you do?
Well, yes.
Can you tell us a
Um,
little bit more about that little shameless plug here? Because I think it's really important. I know for me, when people start talking about quantum healing or these types of things, I don't shut down because I'm excited to learn more. And there's always you can't, for me, I just always want to know, I want to know everything. I'm like a sponge. But what does it actually, like, what is a quantum healer? What does a quantum healer do?
Okay, this is such a good question. And I just want to tie it back to the sommelier thing,
Yes,
and
please.
it'll make sense because you're like, what the hell are you talking about? But when I used to teach people about wine, we use all our senses. So first you use your eyes and you look at the wine and you analyze the colors, and then you smell it. And then you decide, okay, does this have any notes of vanilla? Because then that would hint that it's aged in oak. And then you taste it and then you analyze the structure. Is this tannic? Is it acidic? What flavor profiles am I tasting? And then you analyze all of this data that you're collecting versus what knowledge you have in your brain based on all the testing you've done of all the regions and all the different grape varietals and all the aging techniques, etc. And then you come to a conclusion. Okay, I think this is a 2008 Bordeaux, whatever, whatever. And it's actually pretty similar to how we work in the quantum realm, or how we work with our guides, or how we do this deep soul level healing. So, the people that come into my world have generally gone to therapy or have done this mindset work or done the journaling. And so they understand, okay, I know I deserve better. They've probably recognized, okay, my ex was a narcissist or whatever label we want to put on it.
Yeah.
But they still are realizing that they're craving more in their life and they're just not quite sure how to get to that next level.
Okay.
So, why the quantum realm is so powerful is that it's this idea that multiple timelines are playing out at once. So, the Christine that kept being a medical device saleswoman is out there somewhere. And then
Ooh.
the Christine that became the realtor and now this amazing health and wellness coach. And even maybe a Christine that did become the doctor, the physician's assistant. It's like all of this is possible in the quantum realm. And everything that has also been, so everything in our past, all of those classes we took in high school, all of the interactions we've had with our parents, all of how our parents were raised with their parents and generational. You can imagine it as like this grid of timelines, and they're all weaved in and out of each other. And
Mm.
when you can zoom out and look down on your soul as this everlasting expression that's going through these different iterations to get these different life lessons, you can start to uncover what things happened maybe in this life that are keeping you from, I like the term best expression, or your dharma, maybe what your soul's purpose is, or maybe finding that soulmate because something's just stuck. Like we are meant to be amazing, successful, wealthy, happy, in love people. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So, in my program, Quantum Healing Blueprint, we do this life expression introspection. So we look at our inner child, we look at wound mapping, We look at our values versus the action we're putting on our values so we can see if there's any misalignment. We start to really uncover how we're actually showing up in our life and how that's different than our wildest dreams. And and when you uncover that, you can start to figure out, okay, why is this misaligned? What's stuck? Is it a limiting belief? So we have a whole section where we unpack these limiting beliefs. We uncover what is the root, and is this root from this life, or could this be generational? Could this be from my parents or my ancestors? Could this be past life, if that's something you buy into? And then we figure out in the quantum realm how we're going to work with it and rewire in our mind's eye, which also is this amazing way to reprogram your subconscious and
Mm.
anchor it into right now. So you'll feel the shifts even physically. You'll see the shifts even in the way your mom talks to you, even though she didn't even know you were doing this for yourself. It's
Mm.
really freaking powerful.
Yeah. And the everlasting expression. I love that so much.
Yes.
So, what if I had this great childhood and I don't think that I have any inner child wounds? And I'm thinking, oh, I'm interested in kind of what she's talking about, but I don't have any inner child issues. I had a good childhood and nothing bad happened to me really. I know for myself, I look back at my childhood and I'm like, well, I wasn't sexually assaulted or abused. My parents took good care of us. We had everything we needed. We had even a little extra and were able to do things that not everybody could have done, right? I got a car when I turned 16. There wasn't any physical abuse. And immediately I'm like, oh, well, I don't have childhood trauma.
Well, I love that you brought this up because this is what we do. We feel like our, let's just call them issues, aren't worthy of being issues because you're right. Oh, we weren't
Someone else had it
sexually
worse.
abused, or we weren't living in poverty, or we weren't. So you're comparing the
Mm,
stuff that you went through with people that had it worse. And there's always going to be someone that has it worse for you, but that doesn't take away from what you went through. And even if you had the best parents in the world who were child psychologists and billionaires and all of these things, I bet someone made fun of you, or you weren't invited to that birthday party, or you got a bad grade on that test, and now you have all these self confidence issues and you don't ask your boss for a raise, or maybe your parents use the money as control, and so now you feel like every relationship that you're in is conditional. There's just so
yeah.
many things that aren't necessarily about this deep, deep trauma as sometimes we think about it.
Thank you for clarifying because I think for myself, I kind of already knew that, but I don't know if everybody does. And sometimes we have to really break it down to the basic bite-sized morsels for people, depending on where they are in their experience and then where they're heading and how deep they want to go. But they can't go any deeper than the next thought ahead, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But it could even
Oh,
be something as simple as your mom never ate carbs because we grew up in the 80s, 90s when it was low fat, no carb diets. And so now that's why everyone in their 30s to 50s are scared to eat, or just period, scared to eat.
yeah, I'm scared to eat until I talk to you.
It's wild. Like as soon as you start to eat, like you don't realize that food affects your hormones. And if you're under eating, but you're only under eating because of the trauma, for lack of better words. I don't like to call it a trauma, but it is a type of trauma and it's stored in our bodies in different places, right? And cause sometimes health issues and different things. And through diving into these things and like kind of self-study or jumping into a program like what you have, it's just another tool back to yourself.
Yes. And I am going to give a metaphor because the subconscious mind loves metaphors. And a lot of the times people don't want to dive into something like this is because it seems scary. Or if you did, God forbid, had huge traumas, you're scared to look back and relive that.
Because isn't that how they do it in therapy? It's because
Well,
you're constantly reliving something, but that's not what it's like in your program.
No, and it's what you touched on earlier. Like the more you talk about something, the more real that might be. And so while it's important to understand the root and what it was, we go to the next level of how am I going to integrate this? How am I going to get the lesson and detach from the emotional imprint or realign my chakras so it's not stuck in my energetic body so I can actually move on versus just trying to use my brain to make sense of it. And you can relate it to a slide because when you actually do this work in my program, remember when you were little and maybe you went to this playground and it was the best playground ever and it had one of those tube slides and it felt like it was forever tall. And then maybe as an adult, you went back and you took your kids there, or you drove by your hometown and you went and looked at it and you're like, wait, that is not that
Not
big.
big.
And this is exactly what it's like. So in that moment, it was really big. But the way I want to take you back, or the way this work can be, is that when you look at it, it's not that big anymore.
And it goes back to the thing with food and the way that I look at things is what's brought to the light, it can't haunt you in the dark. So yeah, we bring it up, but then we just decide we're not going to attach anything to that anymore. And then it loses its power.
Yes. And I'm so glad you said that because that's exactly what you did for me. I was like, oh, now this food isn't holding this power of you can't eat me or you're going to get fat. And so now I just feel like such a relief.
I love that. It's all about the freedom in the end. So, if there was like three things that we wanted people to know about whether or not they put themselves in a box, or what is something you're holding on to, like an identity that you could let go, right? What would we want our listeners to know?
I think that wherever they are is exactly where they're supposed to be. And that there's no right or wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Like you are where you are because you're supposed to be where you are.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that.
And it's important also to think about what legacy do I want to leave behind?
Ooh. And what if I'm a dog mom and I just have two little furry babies, right? What kind of like I can still leave a legacy, right?
Of course. So maybe answer that question because when you come into this world, all you have is your naked ass body and your intuition. And then we get conditioned out of our intuition and we live this whole life based on what people tell us. And then at the end, you leave. You leave this world. What imprint do you want to have left?
Mm. I think I really just want people to know it's not that serious.
Ooh,
None of it is really that serious. And that you get to choose. You really do get to choose whether everything is a get to versus a have to. And that is one thing that I talk about in my program all the time. And just in general, whether it's real estate or whatever, we don't have to do anything. We get to do it. And when you have that get to attitude, it's a gift. But what we have to do is a chore. So if you're thinking about all the things that you have to do today, just start saying, I don't have to do those. I get to do those. I get to be the best mom. I get to be the best wife. I get to show up at this job that I really would prefer to be doing something else, but I get to do this for now until the next level opens up for me because I was so grateful for what I have now that I'm showing God, source, universe that I deserve even more.
ugh, that is so beautiful. And you're taking those steps because you're bringing it into all these places, all these people, all these different outlets, and you're giving them that gift.
So isn't that really interesting? And it just clicked for me. It really doesn't matter what we do because we aren't human doings. We're human beings. It matters who we be in all the things that we do. Ooh,
Ah, it matters who we be, not what we do.
yeah. And no
That
matter
was
what you're
freaking
doing, it's
cool.
just how are you being in the doing?
That was so good.
I think we just leave it at that.
All right, we'll see you next time.